Hi everyone, and welcome to the LiteGear product launch event, and thank you for joining us. I'm Mike Wagner with LiteGear, and I can't wait to show you the exciting product update we're announcing today. Our engineers have been hard at work over the past few months to create a major update for Spectrum. From the very beginning, the idea of Spectrum was to bring a unique take on color-changing LEDs to the film and TV market. Our new software update, called Spectrum OS2, is expanding the possibilities and the control options for the slimmest and lightweight color-changing light on the market. We've been receiving amazing feedback and great insight into how to make the software better, and we've been listening. Spectrum OS2 is a giant leap forward for Spectrum users and an attractive offering for those considering to upgrade to Spectrum. Today, we're going to show you all of the features inside of Spectrum OS2, which includes a completely redesigned user interface that allows for easier navigation and more information on the screen. We're also going to introduce you to new features such as nudge control, parameter presets, cue playback, new advanced DMX personalities, DMX transmit mode, current sense, and a brand new feature called gradient mode. So let's dive right in and talk about some of these exciting new features. Al DeMeo, the co-founder of LiteGear, is going to start us off with a look at the new user interface.
Let's talk about the new UI. The new user interface, while familiar, is now streamlined. Starting with the function switch in the center position, access to settings can be gained by pressing the right screen side menu button. From here, navigation and selection are performed using the left encoder, rotate to advance, short press to select. The classic iPod-like menu allows for one-handed operation that's quick and intuitive. With the switch in the up position, Spectrum offers simple white light control regardless of selected modes or settings. This always active feature is great for quick setups and under-the-gun setups, especially with crew that's not yet familiar with the joys of using Spectrum Light Mat. Now with the switch in the down position, this is where things get interesting. All local modes and functions are operated from this switch position. Let's identify the on-screen elements. Starting in the upper left, parameters are shown with the active selection within a yellow background. Rotating the left encoder adjusts the active value, while short pressing it advances the selection to the next parameter, shown above. The previously selected parameter is shown below, and active selections can be cycled through repeatedly. On the top are quick look icons that show pertinent information of various elements and settings such as color space and mode. Directly below is the intensity value, followed by tint. The lower line of the display shows labels for screen side buttons used to access features and functions. Intensity is always adjustable using the right encoder, regardless of selected parameters. The default state of OS2 is Spectrum mode and includes 3 adjustable parameters: CCT from 2000 to 11, accent color available in 360 fully saturated colors, and saturation available in %. So that's how you operate the basics of Spectrum OS2. Let's start with the simplest feature, Audition. A common technique when setting light fixtures is to sample the light output after or during changes to the fixture settings. Back in the day, if you dropped a double or single scrim into an incandescent fixture, chances were pretty good you were about to be asked to audition the light by switching it off and then back on. Audition, available in local mode, allows the operator to gracefully fade the output off and then back on as directed by the gaffer. Next feature is parameter presets. For each main parameter, CCT, accent color, and saturation, 3 factory presets are available at your fingertips. Easily invoke the feature by short pressing the left screen side button. 3 of the most common presets are offered on the lower line, and a slight turn of the left encoder shows additional options. A short press of the left encoder cycles through parameters. In all, that's 216 possible combinations that can be customized to match your workflow. To overwrite any factory preset, set the parameter to the desired value, then long press the associated screen side button. Now, nudge feature. Nudge is a local process for making slight and steady adjustments to parameters by using screen side buttons in place of or in addition to using the left encoder. Invoke the feature with a long press of the left encoder. You can see the lower line of the display now shows incremental adjustments. The operator can now use screen side buttons to advance the value of the selected parameter in small increments. You may also make use of the left encoder for fast adjustments, then return to small increments as needed. As always, intensity is available using the right encoder, as is the audition feature mentioned before. And now we're going to hear from Paul.
Thanks, Al.
One of the unique and powerful new local-only features in Spectrum OS2 is the Q feature. The Q feature puts 4 separate lighting looks right at your fingertips. Think of it as master presets on a console. And it even has its own playback screen. Each individual Q can store all 5 spectrum parameters. That's intensity, CCT, tint, saturation, and accent color. Let's take a closer look. To access the Q feature, simply press and hold the right encoder until you see the playback screen. Here you'll see 3 individual Qs along with the Q parameters. Qs 1 and 2 are static Qs, meaning they can be toggled on or off, or can be toggled between them. Q3 is a momentary Q. It can be flashed or held until it turns off. Many of you LiteGear customers are familiar with the and action feature in our light dimmers. Each individual Q maintains that same and action feature, and I'll show it to you now. Ready? And action. And action. To access the 4th and final Q, simply press the right encoder, and you're right back to where you started. So as you can see, the Q feature is a powerful addition to LiteMat Spectrum, and one that we know technicians are absolutely going to love. Now that we've talked about the Q feature, let's talk about DMX modes. Spectrum OS2 has 23 unique DMX modes. This is going to give you and your console programmer a ton of control over LiteMat Spectrum. The first 5 DMX modes are Hybrid Plus. This makes LiteMat Spectrum backwards compatible with all of the LiteMat Plus and LiteTile Plus products already on the market. The next 5 DMX modes are True Hybrid. This is Spectrum Hybrid, so 2000 to 11,000 with tint control. But the next mode is Spectrum mode. This unlocks the full functionality of the LiteMat Spectrum. Not only do you get True Hybrid with tint control, you also get 360 degrees of accent color plus desaturation. This is the mode that people are going to absolutely gravitate towards. But in a nod to console programmers, we added RGB mode. This is going to allow you or your programmer to choose any color directly from the console. And you're also able to bring in a Spectrum white point to mix in with that RGB. So all of these DMX functions are available in either global, gradient, pixel, 8-bit, or 16-bit. I'm telling you, it's tons of control. To give you a little more insight into the DMX functionality, I'd like to introduce you to console programmer and industry legend, Scott Barnes. Scott, you had access to Spectrum OS2 early on for testing and in order to write some profiles. Yep. Tell me a little bit about your experience with the new software.
I've used Spectrum on previous shows, and it's always been great, but it always showed potential to be better, and it's been done. So yeah, it's been great testing it.
So talk a little bit about RGB Spectrum. Again, I mentioned it a bit earlier. So that takes RGB values and then gives you the ability to bring in a cinema white point, right?
Right. So the way the Spectrum controls the emitters is with hue saturation. So the coding that they did back at LiteGear was to create a interpretation from RGB to the hue sat. So now the console is sort of faked into thinking it's controlling RGB, but in reality, the translation in the ballast is happening from RGB to hue sat. It frees up now the console to be able to treat it as an RGB fixture with the addition of things like CCT control for white point and stuff like that. So when I pixel map now, I can control the white point of the video. So there's a lot of translations happening.
Sure.
But all that is working in unison and giving you the desired output that you want. The results are good. So yeah, the RGB Spectrum is now allowing me to do a lot more with pixel mapping on this console, which is great.
Do you have an example of that?
Yeah, I do. So if I was to go to this, what you're seeing here is at a low intensity, I have a water effect going through this, and it's not really an effect. It's actually water video. That's playing from the console and mapping across those pixels as if they were 8 individual pixels of video. Where I benefit with RGB Spectrum is when I use a piece of content that has white in it. So it's a little chaotic, but this video content that's playing right now has a little bit of reds, a little bit of oranges, but also has some white in there. Previously, I was not able to manipulate the white point because it's video. But now that the Spectrum gives me that CCT control, I can still have the pixel mapping that is applied to the RGB parameters, but the CCT control is still independent. And so now I can, with that pixel mapping happening, I can dial in the CCT control. So right now it's at 7,500, but if I snap it all the way down to warmer,
Oh, wow.
2,000, you get a much warmer. It's the same video, but what's happening is the white part of the video now is being defined by the CCT value that I assign it. So you can actually dial in that anywhere you want. So I can bring that 2,000 Kelvin all the way up into the 6,000, 7,000. And as you can see, you can start seeing the whites get a little cooler.
Sure.
And mixing with that red gives you a little bit of purple, a little bit of magenta, but it's much better. A better example would be is if I play actual white content. So that's just a simple bar of white going across. It's video, but the white is defined by the CCT value of the fixture. So once again, if I manipulate that down to 2,000, it's still playing the video, but I have full control over how the white is interpreted.
Wow, that's great. And it sounds like there's going to be a DMX mode for just about every major console that's being used in our industry, which is, I think, was imperative to our design team going into this whole thing.
Yeah, the gradient modes are gonna help out a lot of people who have simple two-scene slider consoles and stuff. They're gonna be able to do some really nice little looks with those things without the hassle of having to use a big console with a lot of different profiles or channels.
Since we're here at Volt Lights,
Yeah.
and they were nice enough to host us for this little sit down,
This place is great.
why don't we play with the display here a little bit?
Okay, you wanna try to match some colors?
Yeah, why don't we match some colors and maybe they've got a little video we can run through. So
Okay.
let's have at it. Hey, Jeff, let's go to the next one.
Okay, so there's a lot of color there.
A lot going on here.
You got a lot of warms from the sunset. You got some rose colors from the sky and the clouds. So maybe grab both of them and start them at a daylightish color, 6,000 maybe. And then maybe bring in some rose color to them a little bit. And then from there, I can maybe warm it up even more. And then maybe we'll take this one next to me and go even warmer. So we'll go like this kind of color here, maybe.
Now, how hard would it be to take that to an 8-pixel situation? Put a gradient on that.
If I did that, I would probably want to start them all the same. And then what I would do on the console is I would fan the hue. So I might do something like that.
Oh, wow, yeah.
The pixel modes really give you a lot more control, not just in doing gradient type of looks too, but also doing effects. You can get more movement. I find that the more pixels you have, the better of the effect can be because you got a little bit more resolution, so to speak.
Sure.
And then also, just in general lighting, like in a situation like this, you may not need to just dim the light down, you might need to kill some of the light as well. If it comes around a little bit too much on the face, you can kill pixels and sort of have more control over how much of the light is actually lighting up the subject.
Sure. Well, let's do maybe a little bit of motion.
Okay.
Hey, Jeff, do you have that motion clip? All right, water, good.
Okay, so for this, I'm obviously gonna pixel map something. So I'm gonna take and apply the pixel map to the lights, record it here. And then now, once they're pixel mapped, now they're waiting. The lights are basically, I have applied the pixel map to them, but there's no video playing. So now what I have to do is I have to pick a layer and actually play some video. And I happen to have a little bit of water right here. So I can bring up some water. And that's just some little trickle water. I could even green that up a little bit if I wanted to make it match a little bit better.
Yeah, the green's great.
What we're looking at right now is one layer of video playing across those pixels. But what's nice about pixel mapping is you can have multiple layers. So there's a lot of play you can do with pixel mapping. It makes me look better.
Well, that's certainly what we're trying to do. Well, I gotta say, Scott, thank you so much for your time today. And on behalf of the entire team, thank you for the work that you're doing on testing the product and making it better, not only for yourself, but for the entire community.
Yeah, thanks for making good products.
So with that, let's take a look at DMX transmit mode. Now that we've talked about these amazing DMX modes, Spectrum OS2 has the ability to operate in local mode while simultaneously outputting DMX to other Spectrum devices. We call this transmit mode. Now, one dimmer can control many. So to take this a bit further, this feature can control up to 12 large format pixels through multiple fixtures over 5-pin XLR or CRMX wireless DMX. Last, but certainly not least, Spectrum OS2 has full RDM implementation. This allows you to control all of the light mat settings from a console or any RDM-enabled device. So with that, let's send it back to Al and check out some additional features.
Available in local and DMX modes is Current Sense. Current Sense is an intelligent system for managing the power output of the ballast. It's ideal for onboard battery use. Often, batteries can handle only a limited amount of continuous use since most were made for use with cameras. Current Sense allows you to limit the maximum power consumption of LiteMat Spectrum to allow for safe operation while using various batteries. Now I get to show you my favorite feature of Spectrum OS2, Gradient Mode. Gradient Mode enables local operators, simple DMX users, and advanced console programmers to create smooth transitions between two adjacent looks, all within one fixture. The feature offers control of up to 12 LF pixels simply by setting the first and the last value. The values of the center pixels are derived mathematically from pixel A and pixel Z. It's never been easier to fade the output from one side of the fixture to the other. It's like adding a half single scrim in front of the fixture if scrims could magically adjust CCT, sat, hue, and accent. You could even combine multiple grads such as intensity and CCT warming from lamp left to right, live and in real time. The need to cascade several fixtures is commonplace in cinema and TV lighting. The actor does not always walk where you want them to provide even light. Let's do a demo. For this example, I'm going to use a LiteMat Spectrum 4. Let's enable gradient mode. We'll go switch to the center, settings, local control, pixel control, and we'll turn gradient on. Now, when we put the switch in the down position, you can see the screen is very different. Here, the left encoder operates pixel A, and the right encoder operates pixel Z. It's easy to set the entire output of the light by using just pixel A, where pixel Z provides exceptions. So here I'm going to navigate to pixel Z's intensity, and as I enable it, now you can see a grad from left to right. Let's look at the saturated color by increasing the value. And there we have a full sat grad, fully saturated red all the way to white, live and in real time. I'm going to navigate to pixel Z's accent color and enable it by increasing the value. You can see red nicely transitioning to a nice yellow and orange. There's all the way to green, and there's all the way to blue. And if I keep going, I can go to 330 degrees, which basically shows red, green, blue, and pink. And that is just a quick overview of gradient mode in Spectrum OS2.
Well, there you have it, Spectrum OS2. I want to thank all the LiteGear employees who really helped bring this software update to life. Spectrum OS2 is packed with innovative and useful new features. In addition to all the features you just heard about, Spectrum OS2 also includes improved color science and tin function, streamlined menu navigation, ballast status visibility, enhanced low-light color consistency, a DMX streaming monitor, and much more. Spectrum OS2 is just the beginning. There's no limit to the ideas and the features that we could come up with for the Spectrum platform, and we at LiteGear are excited to continue to advance our products in order to put meaningful features into your hands. And best of all, Spectrum OS2 is a free update and it's available today on the LiteGear website. To update to Spectrum OS2, visit our website at litegear.com/firmware. All of the downloads and instructions are available there right now. We hope you enjoy Spectrum OS2 as much as we enjoyed creating it. Thanks for joining us today, and be well.